Good afternoon and welcome back. This is US Home Talk. We are live every Wednesday at noon and on demand at ushometalk.com or wherever you guys find your podcasts. We are your hosts, Marcus Walgrave with the South Dakota Home Team powered by Hague Realtors, Jason Walgrave with Walgrave Real Estate Group at RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and Mike Overson with Luminate Home Loans. We'll be taking all your questions today during the show. Anything and everything real estate. Our call-in number is 612-234-7585. Again, 612-234-7585. Or feel free to leave us a message in the Facebook comments section below. Good afternoon. How are we doing?
What's up, Marcus? How was your board meeting last week? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so I am a state director on the South Dakota Association of Realtors. So we have our quarterly board meetings in our state capital of Pierce, South Dakota. And it was good. I'm on the Government Affairs Committee. So we get an opportunity to kind of give our insight and keep an eye on bills that are being passed pertaining to real estate. It's super interesting. I feel like it's a great service that I can give back to my clients. They know that I'm in a sense kind of on top of everything, whether it's a national like US Home Talk or state, being on the board of directors or at the local level as well, at the local association board of directors there as well too. So
it sounds like
staying on top of things.
Sounds like a very important title, state director.
Do
you wear a suit when you go in there?
No, I button up. I make sure I look good, we in South Dakota we got a new governor, and so there's a lot of changes going on, and there's some really important like real estate things going on in South Dakota. Eminent domain is a hot topic, and also real estate taxes. How residential homeowners have been really getting beat up on the increase of real estate taxes. I know that that's not just I don't know what the eminent domain thing. I don't know if that's something that you guys are having any issues with in your state, but I'm quite certain that it's safe to assume that real estate taxes is a tough thing for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Join the club, right?
Yeah. Join the club.
Join the club.
So I think the biggest eminent domain story that I remember, and this is many, many years ago, Mike, you might remember it, but car dealership, Wally McCarthy's, I think it was Wally McCarthy's. He had a huge dealership right on 35W and 494. And through eminent domain, Best Buy was able to come in and build their gigantic headquarters. I think that was Wally McCarthy, wasn't it, Mike?
I think that's right. Sounds familiar.
It was, that was a long time ago, 15, 20 years probably. But that was, of course, all over the news and a huge, it was just a big story. So I don't think that I've personally worked with any clients that have had to go through that, or I don't have any personal experience in it. So,
I mean, pretty much it kind of comes down to a couple things. Economical drivers, like a massive headquarters that's going to bring in hundreds or thousands of jobs. They tend to have the opportunity to use eminent domain to do such a thing, or utilities, right? I mean, I think we can all know in some sort of whether it's going to be a new power plant or new sewer or something of that nature. Sometimes you'll see it at the individual level, at the city level. Like if the city is expanding, they have growth and development, and they just simply need to expand a road. And by doing so, they need to maybe acquire some of the land, and usually, ideally, these things can be settled out of court, and in terms of just like a purchase price. They parcel out the land that is needed, sell it to the party that needs it, and it kind of goes that way. But unfortunately, it's usually who's buying thinks it's less than who's selling. So it's kind of what it comes down to. The dollars really cause an issue, but So it's a hot topic. Kind of the main reason why we're being talked about in our state of South Dakota is that there was a massive $1 billion plus project for a carbon pipeline that was planning on going through the east side of South Dakota, and that's kind of where that private company was hoping to use eminent domain for that same concept that your example of Best Buy did. It's going to create economical growth in the state of South Dakota, but we are a very private property owner siding for the private property ownership, and so it's been a battle for a couple of years in terms of how it's going to get resolved, but it's interesting, super interesting. So it was a good trip.
Interesting. I wonder if
it was a good trip.
If man, when I think of a pipeline, man, can't that just be an easement, or do they actually need to, or do they need to acquire the real estate? Do they need to acquire the land? That would, I guess I thought those pipelines were deep enough where you could just bury them and create an easement, just like they do utility easements throughout developments, but maybe not.
Yeah, they were, but to do so, right, they would still need permission by the landowner, and if a vast majority of the landowners are saying no, you cannot bury pipeline on my land and have an easement on there, then the next course of action for a company or an entity that wants to do a project like that is to pursue their options with eminent domain for that economic growth concept. So sure. It's a hot topic. It's definitely talked about quite a bit. Affects a lot of property owners, obviously. Goes through like the southeast sector of eastern South Dakota and goes north into North Dakota. Okay. So crosses through a lot of people's properties, next to a number of small towns and just a couple miles outside of Sioux Falls as well. But even with that too, it's not just that as well. I mean, there's, the state's looking to build a brand new state prison just south of Sioux Falls. And so
that's
that,
exciting.
there's, well, I mean, the current one, the current location of it is Central Sioux Falls.
Oh,
So,
is it? It's right in the middle of town?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there you go.
I mean, I think that there's again, I mean, there's always pros and cons from both sides of the situation, and it's important to listen to what people are saying and represent the clients that we work for. So
Definitely.
It's good stuff.
Good work.
Today we are talking about preparing to sell your home. Now, the spring market is definitely coming. If you're outside, it doesn't feel like spring. I think we can all agree upon that. It's not very, very spring-esque.
No.
But
we're above zero.
It is above zero. The girls on the way to school today, it was -14 when we were heading to school yesterday. And I think it got to like 4 or 1. And my middle child, she's like, "Hey, it's pretty nice outside." And then my oldest, she's like, "No, it's not. It's still cold." Yes, it's still cold. It might be almost 20 degrees warmer than yesterday, but cold nonetheless. However, when we talk about real estate is definitely warming up. I mean, Jason, you've always, from when I started to get into real estate, got my license at the first of 2014. That was always your comment. Real estate, the spring real estate market starts after the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And I kind of took that as get ahead of the 8 ball, right? There's a lot that needs to go on for clients in terms of preparation, meetings, consultation, whatever it might be, that happen in the months of December, January, and February. Mm-hmm. So if you take on that approach that, hey, spring market's here. Yes, we may not have an incredible influx of buyers that are looking to get out of their rentals or whatever. So the buyer activity may not be at the very top that we would see throughout the calendar year. However, the sellers, a lot of them, I mean, I can't tell you how many CMAs that I've done just in the last couple of weeks. Sellers are needing the information to plan accordingly, so then they can maximize on the timing of what works for them. So that's today's topic: preparing to sell your home. The first thing we're gonna discuss, this is a great article that I came across the National Association of Realtors website, and the first one was, how do I find the right agent to sell my home? We've always talked about this on the show and just between us as well. And the way to do it is you got to do some research, right? You have to do some research. And also you should be interviewing these individuals and making sure that they align with what you're trying to achieve. There's two good parts. One, do we have a successful, experienced realtor? And then two, do you feel like you're a good match with them? I mean, because you will want to have a relationship with your realtor for as long as you live in the area that they service. In my opinion, it's not just this one transaction. Yep. I mean, this is for decades, for generations. Somebody that you can tell your children, hey, if you haven't found anybody, give Jason a call. He helped us with our transactions over the last 30 years. You may have a really good sit down with him and experience with them. So give him a call. That's the goal here. It's not just to get this one deal done. It should be for a lifetime relationship.
Yep. I would agree. I think it's important to interview your agent that you're considering, and maybe you want to interview multiple agents. I think there certainly can be value in that. But some questions to ask is, what's your marketing plan? What is your strategy to sell my home for the highest amount in the quickest time? And if, and obviously experience and market knowledge and, are very important, but how are they going to do it? What's the blueprint of how they're going to sell your home for the most amount of money? And I think that, the reality is there's more agents that are not great at their job than there are agents that are great at their job. And I think that's me putting it as nicely as I can. and that goes same on the loan side too, Mike. I mean, it's right. Mike and I got a deal done over the weekend. And it was a situation where the listing agent knows Mike, and he knows his business and how he does business. The listing agent knows me and how we do our business. And, and we got that deal done that probably wouldn't have got done till Monday or Tuesday otherwise, and so, reputation in the business of your agent is important. Experience, a proven plan, a proven strategy to get your home sold, to meet your individual goals. And most sellers, their goal is to net the most amount of money. Not always the case, but those are things that we find out when we sit down and have those initial conversations. But, there are some great agents out there, and if you are selling your home, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family to hire one of the best in your market. It's a big deal, and it's a big asset that you're selling, and you really need to work with the best and the top in the business.
Yeah,
check out somebody's. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
So a local, trusted local agent is great, right? Someone who's got experience because they're connected. Just like Jason was saying, right? We've been working in our local area here for over 20 years, both of us. Jason longer because he looks older than me, so obviously he's been doing it longer. Right? But we've been doing it, and we're well connected. So like this example that Jason just said, I was gone out of town on an ice fishing trip. Jason sent over the offer on this last weekend here to the listing agent. Listing agent already knew me, right? Already knew me. Is like, a pre-approval letter from Mike Overson. That's as good as cash, right? Accepted the offer without even a pre-approval letter from me because I wasn't able to send it because I was out basically in Canada ice fishing in an ice house, right? So it's just those local connections. When you have a good experienced agent that is local and has been doing business there in that area for a while, they're very well connected. They're typically well respected. They've made it through the ups and downs of real estate if they've been in it that long, right? That's another one. They're battle tested. Yeah. And it speaks volumes, right? It speaks volumes on, what they can do, how they do their business, and what they can get done.
Yeah, great points. When you kind of look at that too, and something that's pretty easy to do just to kind of get that ball rolling if you feel like this is maybe a lot. I mean, you can go online and just do a quick Google search, check out somebody's social media reviews, look at their Google reviews, just to kind of get the ball rolling if you don't have any like referrals. I mean, referrals are great, right? If you can reach out to a friend or family and they can give you a referral, that's exceptional. I mean, as us realtors and mortgage bankers, I mean, we absolutely love referrals, because I think that those are a testimonial of how well we did for the clients that we've worked for in the past, and they're wanting and willing to put their name and attach their name with our name and say, hey, make sure you reach out to this person. So, but if you don't have referrals, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, those can be a good start. But ultimately, make sure you just sit down, schedule an hour or two to have this interview with this individual, and make sure that they are aligning with what you're hoping to achieve. So next one is, do I need to have my home inspected before putting it up for sale? So we kind of talked about what is a property inspection a couple weeks ago, guys. And this is something to where, again, a great conversation to have with that trusted real estate professional that you've hired to represent you. They're going to be able to give you some of that great insight on that. Very situational, right? Is it very common that sellers have a pre-sale or a pre-inspection done on their home before it goes to the market? Not in my market. We don't see majority of them or anything like that. Maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 might be in a position like that. And it really kind of comes down to, in my experience, it kind of comes down to a couple things. One is a seller wants to try to achieve top dollar. So when they put their house out on the market, they either want that buyer to be super excited because they know that they're not going to have to have any surprises down the property inspection contingency route. And two, the sellers don't want to have any surprises. They want to simply know that their house is locked and loaded, it's ready, it's turnkey. There aren't any big issues that can't be talked about up front prior to an offer being submitted or at those initial levels of negotiation. And they just want it to, once the parties agree to the major terms of an offer, it's smooth sailing to closing. So those are kind of the two experiences that I've seen the majority of sellers that have inquired about wanting to do a pre-sale or a pre-inspection done on, or actually a pre-listing inspection done on their home sale.
Yeah, I think you're right, Marcus. It depends on the seller. I've got a new listing coming up next week. It is from it's from a radio show caller, and I think I originally talked to him 10 years ago. And so,
Cool.
So we've stayed in contact. I've updated a CMA every year, and we actually had all the exterior photos taken last September. Just a really well cared for house. Mid 60s Rambler, but new roof, new windows, new siding, new kitchen. And these particular sellers, they are incredibly detailed. And and it was really important to them, excuse me, that we deliver their house to the next buyer in the absolute best condition possible. And so, generally speaking, sellers don't do inspections before we list, but this particular seller, he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, Mike, based on what I know about you, I think we should do it, because I know you're going to get that inspection and whatever items are on there, you're going to go fix them quick and then have the inspection revised with all the repairs made." Well, he did the inspection last week. And, keep in mind, this is a, 50 plus year old house. And, that 30-page inspection, there was 3 things, and I'm not talking like hazard things. It was 3 recommendations. One was, smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors were older than 10 years. And one was, needed a shutoff valve on something or whatever it was. But he got the inspection done on, I think it was Thursday or maybe Friday. And by the next day, he'd completed everything. And so which is great. I mean, it's so helpful for a listing agent, right? When we list that property, not only is the house going to look arguably better than any other house in the entire neighborhood because it's that well kept. But now I can provide a full home inspection that was just done weeks ago, and so now a buyer can come in and feel confident this is one I probably going to be in multiple offers. A buyer can come in, feel confident, not even having an inspection because they have a full inspection report on that house. So the process is going to go smoother. The buyers are going to be beyond satisfied with the condition of this house, and the sellers, that's what they want. They want to really deliver the best that they can, and that inspection will help show that. So there are a few cities in the Twin Cities that require city inspections, a pre-sale or pre-listing inspection. Those are similar to a home inspection, a little bit different. But Marcus, you're right. In most cases, sellers are not doing the pre-listing inspection. My opinion on this has changed. Now I think it can be a great idea depending on the seller. I used to think, no, there's no reason to do that because if you have 10 inspections, you're going to have 10 different reports and 10 different opinions, and buyer's going to do their own inspection anyway. But I don't feel that way as much anymore. I think that for the right seller and for the right property, I think it's a great idea.
What should I do if something in my home needs to be fixed or replaced soon? I think that's another one, and kind of a good segue off of the pre-inspection, right? It can kind of bring to those things to light, but again, very situational for the individual. If it's something that is going to affect the structure, the integrity of the structure, then we definitely have to have some sort of plan on how to handle it. Does it need to be fixed or replaced? Again, so specific to the individual. If they have the means, the finances to do so, then I personally think that it's a great idea to do that. Again, you want to build the confidence of the buyer so that if they fall in love with your home because of the neighborhood that it's in, because of the amenities that it has, and then also they know that, hey, guess what? We just had shingles replaced this past fall. So you have brand new shingles on this house. Or the AC and furnace were replaced, just this past in 2024 again. Buyers going to see that and they're going to be like, oh, that's awesome. I don't have to do that. In fact, not only do I not have to do that, I don't even really have to budget for this for 15, 20, 30 years down the road. I can put start a new account with my bank and put a small amount away monthly to build up for that replacement in 20 years, that kind of a concept. And so, but in the other side of it, if maybe you just don't have the financial means to do a big fix or to replace something like, a major appliance, you can still have a plan for it. Talk with your real estate professional, discuss the options that you have. Maybe it's marketed as in terms of like a concession or an allowance, or simply, hey, we already have a bid for it, and that's why we're priced where we're priced, because it's priced correctly, accordingly, with these items that may still need to be done. So again, very specific to the individual. I don't know if you can just blanket say, yes, fix everything, replace everything, do it before you sell it. It's a no-brainer. I think you have to have the conversation with the homeowner first.
Yeah, it depends on the seller and kind of what situation they're in. I think that most buyers, with the exception of investors that are looking to buy property at a discount and do renovations and then resell, most buyers, they expect to have a furnace in good working order and an AC in good working order and a roof and windows and siding that are in good shape. And so these are expectations of a buyer. Especially if you're in those price points of first-time home buyers. Guys, a lot of those folks don't have the funds available to replace the roof or to put in a new furnace and AC. And so also keep in mind, if a buyer has to do those things, they're gonna want quite a bit more than the cost off the sale price. And we talk about this, this rule of three. We've been talking about it for many, many years. If your house needs, $3,000 worth of repairs, the buyer's going to want $9,000 off, and speaking in general terms, of course, but, and there's, I've got an example, Marcus, where we've got a listing coming on here in the next few weeks. This house, it needs some, a few repairs, minor, if it needs a few repairs, but it needs new flooring and it needs paint. And so this particular seller is choosing to do that. The difference in value as is, and those, those items renovated or repaired, flooring and carpet, it's almost $100,000 difference in value of that home when I ran all the comps. So it's like the seller's going, hey, I can spend 25, 30 grand and I can sell my house for another 100. Well, yeah, I'm going to do that. We've got contractors and partners that we work with that'll actually do the work now and get paid at closing. So, sometimes that's an objection. Well, I know it needs to be done, but I don't want to spend the cash on it. And they said, well, what if you could pay at closing? Well, then I would do it. Well, great. Now you can pay at closing.
Yeah, if you can come out of the proceeds. Yep.
Yes, come out of the proceeds. You pay at closing. We're going to be able to do the repairs. You're going to make more money, and a buyer gets to move into a property that's move-in ready. So I think there's options out there. Have those discussions. Talk about what it means if you do or don't make those repairs.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the rule of three when you're talking about that. And it is situational too, like you guys are saying. Not there's no blanket answer to any of these here. It's truly situational, and that's why it's even that more important to be working with an experienced real estate agent, because they're going to lead you down the right path there, right? You don't want to spend 10 grand, put 10 grand in your house and get $5,000 back out of that 10 grand, right? I mean, that would be something that no seller is going to want. So it's having the experience to know, okay, yes, it is worth putting our money in here, or no, it's not, and this is why, right? That can save you $1,000 right there.
Yep.
Am I required to make any cosmetic updates to my home before putting it up for sale? I think it kind of covers the previous one, right? I mean, if you have the time and the means, some small cosmetic updates can be huge. Again, you allowing for that buyer to come in there and be like, you know what? I don't really have anything to do. There is value in that. They value that. They value it when they submit the offer in terms of what the purchase price is going to be. So again, there's some little things that cosmetic updates, if you have the time and means to do it, I think that those are always highly recommended. Usually they aren't very expensive. They're not very time consuming. And like you said, Jason, us experienced realtors, we do have a list of contractors that can assist with projects like this. So, personally, I think cosmetic updates are almost a must.
Yeah. And I think every seller, and I'm talking 99% of all sellers, at absolute minimum, you need to do a massive declutter, and you need to have your house deep cleaned, like cleaner than it's ever been before, because those are two things that you can either do yourself, or you can hire for a reasonable fee, but makes a huge difference when presenting your home to potential buyers.
We're talking deep clean, like hands and knees, right? Toothbrushes. You're getting toothbrushes
I'm
out.
talking
You're scrubbing
about
that
like
crap.
Elbow
Q-tip,
grease.
like the vents, Q-tip the vents.
Or I do. I actually take them out and I soak my vents in the sink, and then I get a brush and I brush them, and then I put them back on.
Okay. Of course, you just had to outdo us all.
Well, it's easier than a
Electric
Q-tip.
Electric brush?
No.
Oh,
Good the old Armstrong
come
brush.
on.
I put them in there.
Just cutting corners, I guess.
I pull it out. I get the sink going, right? You got the soapy water in there. I'm Armstrong and brushing those things, right? Dry them off. Put the screws back in. You're good.
The last time I did that, Mike, was when my oldest one had the stomach bug and tossed a good amount of it down the vent.
Oh,
So,
good. That's a fun day right there.
So those are great,
That was required.
That was required. Yeah, I kind of had to soak that one and give it a good clean job. But do I need to provide information about appliances that will stay in the home after it's sold? If we went back 20, 30 years ago, I would say, yeah, you definitely, if you still have the user manual, you'll definitely want to provide that. However, in today's world, the internet, all these manufacturers, major manufacturers, they have websites. You can find user manuals going back from years ago. So I think it is, if you have it, great thing to provide. I've never heard of a buyer say, no, I don't want that, throw that away. If you have it, they'll take it. If you don't stress about it.
Yep.
If a buyer really wants to get some more information about it, they can jump on Google and they'll be able to find it quite quickly.
Yeah, it's a
Unless
great point, Marcus. I mean, sorry, Mike. Whenever sellers say, "Hey, I got this box of manuals," great, keep it. Buyers,
Yeah.
probably going to want even like leftover paint, and maybe
Yeah.
tiles or or flooring stuff or any of that. Yeah, the buyer's probably going to want it for touch ups and repairs and things like that. Not required. Most buyers are appreciative of having that.
Yeah, manuals. Yeah. It's actually impressive if you have a box of manuals there. That'd be one of those things where it's like if I'm buying a house from someone and they literally have the box of manuals for all the appliances in there, I wouldn't care that they had the manuals. I'd be impressed. It's like, okay, these guys are put together, right? You know what I mean? Like this thing was taken care of if you're keeping the manuals in the separate box and stuff like that. The one thing I was going to mention is if you have some sort of unique system in your house, right? You installed a this or you did a that. That's one of those things where actually like showing your real estate agent like how it works or offering to say, hey, buyer, when you come in here, I'll take 20 minutes and just run through how this thing works as I installed it. It's kind of, you're not just going to be able to look at it and be like, oh yeah, this is how you run it. Right.
Yeah.
Outside of that, yeah, I mean, everything else is self-explanatory. You can pull out the Google machine, or the YouTube, you can watch a YouTube video on probably any of those things out there and learn how to run it within a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike. I think especially on technology stuff. We've had a number of our clients in the last few years where they've got pretty impressive tech packages in their homes, whether it's a theater system or just a smart home or a full automated whatever they have going on. And buyers will ask, hey, will the seller walk through with me and show me how to use these things? Or sellers most of the time would just offer, hey, if the buyers want to walk through, final walkthrough, and I can show them how to use this stuff, because some of it's pretty darn complicated, right? I mean, you're looking at it going, that stuff is cool, but I have no idea how to run it. So it can be helpful.
Definitely can be helpful. Last one for the day is, what does it mean to stage my home? There's definitely levels of staging, right? If you're going to work with an experienced realtor that has been in the game for many years, we're going to be able to provide you basic staging advice. Jason, you mentioned earlier in the show about the massive decluttering. I mean, that's part of a staging as well. So we can go ahead and assist with that staging concept. How do we make some small changes to make a room feel bigger or to make a house feel more homey? We can give that advice. But there are situations too where an individual may inquire about having professional staging. I think what a great example that everybody can relate to is new construction. When you go out on the spring parade of homes here coming up in a couple months, and if a builder hired a professional stager, you go into that home and maybe the next, a block down the road, there's another new construction, similar style home, similar square foot, not staged. Mm-hmm. The staged one is just going to feel right. People are going to be able to come in there. If you're not in real estate, it is difficult to vision how a room's going to lay out. It just is. And that's something to where a big value of where a stager comes in, a professional stager can come in. But kind of going back to the pre-existing, the decluttering, the creating space concepts, those are some basic staging pieces that you'll get from experienced realtors too.
Yeah, great example of that, Marcus. I was looking at some new construction last week with clients, and we looked at a builder, same house, exact same floor plan. One was a spec home, so it was finished, and then the other one was their model, and the model was, of course, fully furnished and decorated. And my clients were like, "Oh wow, there's actually more room in this area than I thought," because they had the 6-person kitchen table, and so for them it was like, "Whoa, we have more options than we were thinking," because wide open vacant space, it's hard to visualize, even if you're around it all the time, visualize where are things going to go and how's it going to feel, and so staging recommendations and staging consultations are very helpful.
What do you guys think about virtual staging?
I think it's better than nothing. I think that the trouble with virtual staging is, that's what goes on in the marketing. That's what oftentimes gets people in the door. And then when they walk in the door and it's all empty, it can be disappointing sometimes.
Yes.
And some buyers are ticked off, and they're like, whoa, this isn't what I thought I was looking at. Well, it is. It just, and we, in our MLS,
This is
we
what it
actually
could have looked like
That's what
with
it could
that
have looked
furniture.
in our market, we have to identify virtual staging on the MLS underneath
same
the
here.
photos, which I think is good. But and what some
Yeah.
agents will do, which I like even better, is they'll have a virtual staged room, and then they'll have the actual vacant room. With,
Yes.
picture after the
Yes.
next, and I think that's a great way to do it. So I think virtual staging is better than no staging.
Yep, I agree. I think you have the virtual staging and then the next picture, the actual look of it. And I think that is it's a small risk, but the thing that's interesting is that the virtual staging, the software that goes into it, it just has gotten so
It's really good.
so high quality.
Yes.
I mean, you'll see it and you'll be like, you could not have convinced me that was virtual. It looks so real, like that is real furniture that's sitting in there. They even cast shadows from like where the light's coming in and things of that nature. So it is pretty cool for sure. If you have a big house that's vacant, and you don't necessarily want to pay for a professional stager to come in there and to put actual furniture in there, I think there's a lot of value in that as well. So. Awesome. Well, great show today, guys. We want to thank you all for tuning into US Home Talk. We're live every Wednesday. You guys can find us on Facebook on Wednesdays at noon. You can also find us on our website, ushometalk.com. And you can go ahead and find us our past shows too, if you're looking to do some podcast here later this evening. We want to just thank you all as your hosts, Marcus Walgrave, Jason Walgrave, and Mike Overson. Have yourself a blessed week.